Good now, whenever and wherever this might find you. Today, I want to talk about Taiwan. Now, the military industrial complex has us all spun up in fear about China is going to attack Taiwan. And meanwhile, we ignore that Taiwan has been somewhat of an ally to the empire. So rather than focus on the conflict that may or may not exist, we're completely ignoring the reality that we should be studying Taiwan. In that light, check out this video from about the digital minister talking about how democracy rose from martial law in Taiwan and how you might want to study this.
Because I'm wondering whether that, in a way, Hans was asking also about the culture. The danger is, have we spent too long developing an adversarial, confrontational culture around our democracy in many European countries? You noted Estonia, Iceland, but these are, I would say, exceptions rather than proving a rule. Margie, you wanted to come in on this point maybe as well.
Actually, a very short comment, but I think it's fascinating also because the debate we have here, and we have often highlighted the deep cultural differences between the political community, policy community, and technologists. And essentially, they don't understand each other, they don't have the same values, they don't understand the systems. And in a lot of what we do is trying to put them together with some clashes, but essentially deeply rooted different perception of what democracy, what processes, what values are, which to some extent doesn't seem to be the case or never had that issue to start with in Taiwan.
Yeah, but it's a new culture in Taiwan too. I mean, prior to the Sunflower Occupy, if you ask a random person on the street that whether they think that just 5,000 people on an e-petition platform can just basically bind any minister on a face-to-face meeting twice a month, or that we will have a assistive intelligence AI-powered conversation method to find a solution to the UberX problem back then, people would look at you funny and say that's not possible. We all know that the state is bureaucratic. I really think that after the Occupy in 2014, the norm changed in politics because the demonstration was not a protest. It was a demo. It's a real demonstration of how 500,000 people on the street and many more online can come to four consensus items and bind the parliament to it.
So you see, their democracy was born directly out of the Occupy movement. That was 2011. So let's continue to see what we can find out about Taiwan. I think it's something that we need to learn.
If you have a generation of people who don't think democracy as something of a proud legacy tradition thing, but rather as a set of living technologies that they can all participate in, increase the bit rate, then they will see, the tech companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, whatever, and so on, as, not monopolizing the word tech. Democracy is tech. So the web is no more of a tool of capitalism than paper was, right? Paper is paper. Writing is writing. And so the idea is that not that the state must be weak for the market to be strong, or the state must be strong for the market to obey, or anything like that, but rather the government need to radically trust its people by making how we work transparent so that people are on the same page as us. And when we do that, then people feel free to remix however they want on those cute dog messages. And so basically the idea is that democracy itself is a platform. Liberal democracy can enable all sort of local and online and whatever decision makings, including sandboxes, presidential hackathons, participatory budgeting, all sort of different experiments being tried out in Taiwan. In the presidential hackathon, every year we hand out 5 teams, no money, but a shape of Taiwan with a micro projector. If you turn it on, it projects the president handing you the trophy. So it's self-describing and promising that whatever you made in the past 3 months will become national policy in the next 12 months. So that's executive binding power as a hackathon prize. And so when you do mechanism design for participation in the participatory way, there really is no limit to what the innovative people in the civil society can suggest. And you just put the agenda setting power to the people, and that is the extent of democracy as a platform. So that's why I think people think tech as not something that only the private sector captures. The civil sector, if they want, they can just start measuring air quality, water quality, whatever, anytime, and actually really co-create with the government.
I find this so exciting that this technology exists and that very easily we could create this reality for ourselves here in this country. Of course, we have to dissolve the empire and deal with the political process that we have now, and people will stay caught up in that for a while. But meanwhile, the rest of us, we can start thinking and dreaming and creating this digital reality that we take our self-sovereignty and begin to create a grassroots, ground up movement. Actually, while the mainstream media continues to pitch fear and division, I have found that there are many people that are working for this new future, and it's not that far away. One of the main inhibitors of us moving to this new reality is people's fear of technology. And the digital minister goes on to speak to this, so let's hear what she has to say.
And I want to talk a little bit about this perception and attitudes toward technology, because as I say, it's really refreshing. In Europe, we've really grown suspicious of digital technologies. Since 2017, you can see that there's more appetite for technology regulation, there's more fear, and we talk more about the perils or the risk related to digital technology, and that's manipulation of information, as you alluded to, but also for digital platform, mental health issues or addiction. And there's a strong effort here to regulate and also to moderate and curate what people and citizens say online, because we've seen a lot of abuse. So I'd be very interested to hear about, first, Taiwanese attitude towards technology and your appetite or your perspective on how much digital technology and platforms should be regulated.
Sure. Well, moderation, I guess, is good in theory, and theory is good in moderation. But I think the point about moderation is that it needs to be accountable in a participatory way. You just saw the mask map. And if you go to a pharmacy, swipe your NHI card, check after a minute or two, and see really that the stock level decreased by 9 or 10 if you're a child, you trust the system more, right? Because that's essentially participatory accountability. But if the government insists on publishing the sum every week, or like in many freedom of information access every month, right? Then people have no way of participating in holding each other and the pharmacist accountable. And so a distributed ledger that is essentially an open API that doesn't pass before the eyes of any human beings before it gets published, publishing upon collection, I think is a very powerful idea. Because of that, everybody can form data collaboratives that look at those numbers, as I showed the dashboard built by the academic sector, or the over and under supply by the economic sector, and so on. And because everybody shared the same ground truth, so to speak, and everybody can call 1922 if they see that they bought 9 masks, but actually the stock increased by 9. So everybody trusts these numbers more. And this, I think, is something that is really missing from a lot of cross-sectoral collaboration, is simply that the ground truth of the shared data or the shared ledger is not there. And when it's not there, of course, people will second guess each other. And in Taiwan, I think it's not just about the COVID. For example, around air pollution, we rely on the environmental sensing network called the Airbox that is just less than 100 euro each. It's deployed in many primary schools, in balconies and so on. And altogether, they write into this distributed ledger that nobody can go back in time to change. And then the social sector with more than 10,000, I think now, environmental sensors all puzzled together the PM 2.5 level and other levels in the atmosphere. And then they have sufficient clout then to convince the public sector to work with them and to install in the economic sector like industrial parks on the lamps, because of course the high school teachers cannot break into the industrial park to install airbox sensors, but we own the lamp, so we can do that. So it is the social sector gaining legitimacy, working with the public sector to set fair rules and norms, and with those norms to convince the economic sector to scale it up and scale it out. And that's precisely the kind of the people-public private partnership that I described on the mask rationing, which is quite a different order actually from the traditional PPPP.
Well, they really got it going on in Taiwan, and I hope that we nor the Chinese derail this, and that we learn from this and we each grow towards a more unified world instead of this constant Cold War bullshit. So, in that regard, let's hear what is really the relationship around Taiwan and China.
Is there something unique about Taiwan? Its willingness to cohere, to come together around this heavy use of digital technology, is partly inspired by, driven by your proximity to China and the kind of threat that it seems presenting to Taiwan's very existential survivability.
Well, there's some of that, but I think a large part of that is our own past, right? For people who are above 35, that includes me, we remember how the martial law was, which by and large was not that different from what PRC is now doing to their journalists. And so what I'm trying to say is that for people of above a certain age, not going back to the martial law days is of core importance, that we need to counter disinformation without resorting to censorship and takedowns. Because had we done that, all the democratic struggle that we made to lift us out of the martial law would be in vain. And I think that is really at the core. And of course, PRC keeps reminding our new generation how it was in the martial law days in Taiwan.
So there you have it. The story is so different from what we hear here in the United States. So I hope that we take this knowledge that we've gained from Taiwan and expand it and bring it here and begin to use it in our culture. And I have the friends with the willpower and the knowledge of how to do that, and I'm calling on them now to step up and let's make this happen, okay?